Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. I am super excited for this year and I'm kind of taking this as a fresh start because I had so many financial things going on last year. But before we go any further into 2024, I need to close up the chapters in 2023. So in this video, we are going to close out my December budget, which is part of my monthly budget routine. And in my next video, I'll be doing a complete 2023 financial year in review. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. But without further ado, let's dive into my budget review for December. Normally, I would start on the dashboard, but since we are already in January, I am just going to put up the screenshots comparing my spending between November and December. So you can see that I spent a little bit more earlier in the month, but that's because I got gifts early. But for the rest of the month, my spending habits were pretty similar. So by the end of December, I had spent $3,358.20, which was almost $170 more than last month. Considering that this was a month that would be a little bit more expensive because I was getting gifts, for me to only go over my budget by $170 is pretty solid in my book. But now that the holiday season is over, I'm excited to go back to my normal spending in a month. Next, we're going to head over to the accounts page, and I did a lot of work yesterday, which was December 31st, making sure that all of these balances were accurate. So I don't believe there's anything that we have to do here, and I don't have any pending transactions in any of these accounts. We will go over my contributions and things later in the video, but under the investments account section, Monarch has added this notification at the top saying that they are working on adding support for investment transactions. So that is something I'm super excited about, obviously, and I will do a video on that as soon as we have an update. I also wanted to note that because my student loan payments are paused until October of this year, I don't have to worry about checking my net balance every month to see if I've earned any interest. Another exciting thing is that my business membership will actually be paid off by the end of this year because the subscription is $100 a month and I have $1,200 remaining. So I'm excited to be finished with that subscription and have one less thing to worry about spending on for 2025. And nothing else has really changed for this family rent balance situation that I shared before. So I think everything else here is pretty good to go. And now let's take a look at my net worth. So in November, my net worth was negative $28,463.42. And in December, it went up to negative $27,870. So overall, my net worth went up by $593.10. As I said before, December was a gift-giving month, so the fact that I was still able to increase my net worth by that much is something I'm extremely grateful for. Next, we're going to head over to the recurring tab and go back to December, and let's make sure that everything came out the way it was supposed to. I see green check marks everywhere with the exception of the gray ones because that means that I spent more than I planned to. So I spent a little bit more at the Metro just refilling my card, and for my groceries here I spent $88 instead of the $80. But in this economy, with how inflation is raising prices on everything, I would say I pretty much stuck to the budget. As for when I got groceries on the 26th, I did end up buying more groceries because I wanted it to last me a little bit longer, and I had extra money in the budget to account for that, so this was fine. This is a new transaction, which is going to be my tithes every month, and this is on auto pay, so that will make things a whole lot easier. All right, everything looks good to go. So now we're going to head over to my transactions. And as you can see, I had a lot of interest load in, I think, early this morning. So that's why I decided to start doing my budget reviews the day after to make sure that all of my interest gets captured in Monarch. I'm going to take some time to quickly scroll through my transactions and then I'll be right back. I've made sure that all of my work transactions and reimbursements were logged, so I think we are good with our transactions. And now let's head over to the budget. Gotta go back to December, and I'm going to expand all of my categories as usual. So starting at the top with my income, I got the expected $32.55 from my job. However, the next couple of months are going to be a little inconsistent because I'm changing some of my deductions, but we will talk about that when I do my video for my plan for 2024. As for rollover, I brought in $330 that was still in my bank account at the end of November. And I earned $12 in interest this month. And that interest is between my high yield savings accounts at both Capital One and Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Next, we have potential. So I ended up getting $225 back in my pocket this month. And that was between my job reimbursing me for some of the work trips that I had. And then I also had some family members that were paying me back for some things. For business income, I earned $15 from my online shop. So thank you all so much for your support. And I am excited to release more templates in the year, so stay tuned for that. For those of you who have been watching my monthly budget reviews pretty faithfully, you might notice that I have this new section here called placeholders. And I decided to make this group to account for money that has a job but may not necessarily have transactions going in and out of my bank account. Beforehand, this next month's rollover group was under needs and contributions was under wealth, but I just thought it would be better to have it in this one area so that I know as I'm going through my budget, this money should not be touched. And it's just been working out for me, so I plan to continue to have this structure here in the future. And for my new people who may not know what these categories are for, next month's rollover refers to the amount that's in my bank account by the end of the month. So December 31st, this is my balance. And then contributions refers to any money that I am transferring to my Acorns. Eventually, this will also apply to my 401k, but for now, it's just my Acorns, and I transfer $5 a month into that. Next, we have needs. My rent and utilities was the same at $983. For groceries, I spent $236. Household, I spent $66. Transportation was $98, but remember, I got a lot of that back from my job when they reimbursed me. I spent $95 on pet supplies, and the reason this was higher than normal is because number one, I finally got Coda an automatic pet feeder, so it's completely electronic and I no longer have to get up early in the morning and fix his food. So that was definitely a great investment for only $30. And the other thing I did was buy a bulk bag of dry cat food for him, and that was another $30 essentially. So even with those purchases that were a little bit higher than usual, I only spent about $10 more than I did last month. Next, I spent $355 on Coda's health needs. I recently released a video talking about all of Coda's expenses for the year, and I mentioned that in December we had a little bit of a health scare because of a very injured nail that was getting very concerning for me. So I did have to take him to the vet, and that was about $300. However, they are still processing my claim, so hopefully I get that reimbursement sometime this month since he does have insurance. And then my renter's insurance was the usual at $11. Next, we have wants, and for therapy, I only spent $30 because I had some credit that we were able to apply to one of my sessions, but also that was my only session for the month because my therapist was going on vacation. For health and wellness, I spent $106, and that consisted of me getting my bulk greens powder that I drink every morning. I also got a very affordable aerobic stepper because I want to incorporate more movement in my life this year. I also had to get some motion sickness meds, which I have to kind of keep on me at all times because I get really sick, unfortunately, but this helps to make it a little bit more manageable when I'm going places. And lastly, I got a haircut this month at my boyfriend's barber, and that was only $25. For personal subscriptions, I only spent $5, and that is between my Blink security camera subscription, which is $3, and my Google One storage subscription, which is $2. Normally, Monarch Money would be under this category, but thanks to you all using my referral link, I got another free month of Monarch. So thank you so much for using my link to sign up for Monarch. For business, I spent $74 this month, which I think will be the new normal for now, because I did upgrade my Squarespace website to the commerce plan so that I could start selling things directly from my website. So shameless plug here, if you haven't been to my online shop already, I will leave the link below in case you want to check out my financial templates. For restaurants, I spent $138, but I still didn't eat out myself that much. It was mainly paying for other people to eat. For self-care, I spent $108, and I think I'll do a video specifically on my self-care plan, but I think I said in my annual budget video that whatever money I have left at the end of the month, I'll just use that to treat myself to some things. So in November, the $108 that I had left over, I used that to buy myself some things in December. And that included some nail polish as well as a UV nail lamp so that I could do my own nails. But unfortunately, it didn't last long because I ended up breaking a nail on my thumb and it got severely damaged and cracked. So now part of my thumb doesn't even have a fingernail on it. I don't know how long it'll be before I do my nails again, but I guess when I'm ready, at least I'll have the supplies to do it. I also got myself a fancy gold calculator just to enhance my budgeting experience. And I also got myself a wallet, some nail polish remover, of course, and some wine glasses. And lastly, for gifts and loans, I spent $480. Some of these are loans, but I do like to keep my gifts and loans together in the same category because I don't loan anybody anything I can't afford to give them. And then for wealth, I spent $220 towards my debts. Now, technically, these two payments I made in November, but they didn't actually process in my bank account until December. That's why it looks like I paid a little bit more towards my debt this month than just the standard $100. And these two transactions are hidden from the budget, so I don't count that as something I spent. For loans, I spent $15, and this is currently just for that one student loan. The minimum payment on that particular loan is pretty small right now, but I am taking advantage of that to focus on these other high priority debts. As for extra debt payments, this technically is not an extra debt payment. This refers to that family rent balance situation that I talked about in my annual budget plan. And we needed to make a $300 payment kind of spur of the moment in order to keep the account with them. But I split that between myself and a family member. So up here in reimbursements, 150 of the reimbursements came from that family member. And then I made the payment from my account. So that's why this says $300. My Acorn subscription was $1, and then for tithes, which is going to be a new part of my budget, that was $50. And I say to myself every time I look at this that it is so crazy that I have this line item for $1, but I just don't really know where else I would want to put this transaction in a way that makes sense to me, so I'm just going to keep that there. I don't have anything for other, so now let's talk about my savings contributions. So starting with my moving fund, I didn't deposit anything in the moving fund this month, but because I already had over $2,000 in there, I still earned $8 in interest this month, so that was pretty cool. And the reason why I have 7 here is because it's still doing that weird glitch where the numbers are off. And side note, Monarch says they are working on that, so I'm just kind of being patient. For my bill sinking fund, I did withdraw $45 to cover Coda's emergency vet visit, but then I earned $1 in interest, so that's why it says -44. And then for the gift sinking fund, I withdrew $55 because I was buying gifts this month, so of course it made sense to withdraw from that sinking fund. I put $100 towards my 1-month fund that I'm saving up for, and then I earned $1 in interest, so that was a total of $101 that was contributed. And then I brought my emergency fund back up to $1,000, so I deposited $222, and then I earned $3 in interest, so that was a total contribution of $225. Now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put this next month's rollover at 0, just so you all can see. So it says I have $227 left to budget, and I reconcile that with my bank account by actually logging into my bank to check the balance, but I've already verified that this is accurate, And I can even go over here to the accounts page and we can see that my balance is $227.29. So because this number left to budget here matches what's actually in my bank account, I can consider this a zero-based budget. And I'm just going to put this 227 into next month's rollover because that's what it is. I'm rolling this income over into next month. And then while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put that 227 here for January. I feel like I might need to do a video on exactly how I do the rollovers. I kind of talk about it in the zero-based budget video, but if you all have any more questions and would like a full video on that, just let me know in the comments below. And now we are going to do my rollover plan as usual. So my starting balance, we've already established, is $227.29. Now, normally I would put any pending transactions here, but I've already checked my bank account and I don't have anything pending, so we are going to leave that as 0. And now we're going to go over to my recurring tab and see how much I have in my upcoming transactions. And let's see, so my Acorns investment is coming out today. I'm just going to do a separate line item. So that's 5. And gonna make this a little bit bigger. Now, even though my calendar says that I would be billed for therapy tomorrow, my therapist comes back from vacation on the 9th, so we are going to ignore that for now. And then I have my groceries to script and the rent balance payment coming out, but those are all coming out after I've gotten paid, so I would just pull those expenses from my paycheck when it hits on the 5th. Other than that, there is nothing else that I can see that I need to cover over the next 4 days. So we are just going to do the $227.29 minus the $5 from Acorns, and that gives us $222.29. And this $222 is what I can actually decide to do something with. So I'm going to come over here to my goals page. This emergency fund stays at $1,000 all the time because it is a short-term instant cash fund. Any extra income that I want to put towards my emergency fund will go towards this one, which is for my 1-month fund, which will eventually grow into my 1-year fund. I don't want to put anything towards my brokerage or retirement right now because those aren't really my high priority goals right now. So I think I'm going to put $100 towards the moving fund, because I need to have $4,000 in there by May in case I have to move out when the lease ends. And that leaves us with $122 left. The gift sinking fund will come out of my paychecks in January, so I don't think I need to cover that right now. And then for my self-care fund, I guess I'll put $25 in there. I'm putting such a low amount because I don't really have anything that I am striving for right now. And I like to be intentional about my money, so I don't want to put a lot of money in there just because. So this leaves us with $97.29 remaining. And I think I'm just going to put all of that towards the bills fund, because if I go to my forecast, I want to switch to the annual plan for my phone bill in February, so adding that into the bill sinking fund will give me a head start. And I'm also saving up for potential taxes that I might have to pay in March, so that'll also give me a head start on that. Yeah, I like that plan. I think that's going to be what I want to do. So we will say that this $97.29 will go towards the bills fund. And that leaves us with 0, so every dollar has been assigned a job. Now, I don't like to make these transfers into the funds until after I've gotten paid again. So today is January 1st. I'm going to wait until I get my paycheck on January 5th before I make these transfers over there. I like to keep this money as a cushion in my account just in case something pops up over the next couple of days. And then once I have the security of that paycheck actually in my bank account, then I feel comfortable making those transfers. So now that I've calculated my rollover savings plan, we are going to head over to cash flow, and we can see that for December, I saved a total of $135, and that put me at a basically 4% savings rate, which was just a little lower in November, but in November I paid off a lot of debt, and in December I spent a lot on gifts, so that doesn't really concern me because I knew what I was getting into in December, and now I'm ready for a more stable couple of months as we head into the new year. We're also going to open up the Sankey diagram and do by group, and we can see that for December there's that 4% savings rate. I spent about 53% on my needs, 27% on my wants, and about 17% towards my debts. And I am trying to follow the 50-30-20 budget, 50% going to your needs, 30 going to your wants, and then 20 towards savings and debts. And with the savings and debt payments here, that puts me at about 20%. So I pretty much followed the guidelines. I'm pretty happy with that. Lastly, we're going to enter all of this into my projections dashboard in Google Sheets, which I do plan to release this month. I just still have a couple of kinks and formulas and automations and things that I need to resolve before I make this public. So thank you for your patience. I promise it'll be out soon. So let's start with my cash for December. My forecast was that I would have $3,796.49, and I actually had $3,929.82. And let's set this cell equal to this one and watch the projections adjust. And now the rest of my numbers have gone up a little bit. Hopefully we'll see these numbers get higher and higher. Next, we have my investments. So the forecast was that I would have $638.62. but we had $716.21. And let's set this cell equal to this one and watch the chart adjust. So that definitely made the projections go up instead of more of the straight line with no progress that it was before. Next, we're going to do my debt balances. And this debt section is the total of all of my debts, including regular debts and loans. So my forecast was that I would be at $32,864.10. And I was actually able to get it a little bit lower at $32,516.35. And we will set this cell equal to this one, and the chart should adjust just a little bit. Yep, there we go. And then we're going to do my net worth. So the forecast was that I would be at negative $28,040.55. And I actually got it under $28,000, so that's awesome. We are at negative $27,870.32. And we will set this cell equal to this one. And the chart did adjust just a little bit, but you know, progress is progress. As for my credit scores, I'm not really going to do these on camera for a while because I'm not making any drastic improvements to my credit because I don't have a credit card or anything like that. But the good news is I do plan to get a credit card this year, and then I'll actually be able to make decent improvements to my credit instead of the numbers pretty much staying the same every month. But that concludes today's video. Thank you for being here as we close out this final chapter of 2023, and I am super excited to see what financial milestones I will hit in 2024. If you're interested in trying out Monarch, I will leave the links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one.